not exactly sure what's
Okay, colleagues, let's get together. We have I don't know. Okay, remember with 22, it's 293.
Yeah, you should have the sheet, right?
Hold on. Sometimes it's that. Hey, why is it always closed?
Oh, but that mic's on you.
See? Why is happening? Let's go. Come on, I did call them in. Come on, colleagues, let's go. Both sides of that. Come on.
Yeah, I'd like to know what's in the bug, yeah. I'd like to
You got three.
because it's like sand, a lot of it is sandy related, drainage and stuff like that.
How would you answer something question ready to
Actually, I was having a meeting with somebody. I knew about the studies that needed to be done. Good. They're out there on the place. They don't have this meeting with all these people who may be interested in so they can give them an idea of what the projects are so that they can like see if they want to be on this project. I think ask people, you know what? Ask what people also and that was when I met actually with some of the civic people and the people who had been involved with the CRC. And this is what they wanted to have done. We're not ready for the New York State here to find out, to make sure that we do the funding, that it's allocated a certain way, so that it's not just all one area.
Let's go. Mr. Nola?
The other, yeah, but that was Senator Reynolds.
We're ready, let's go. Mr. Mullen, call the emergencies. Or stop,
Presiding officer, we have 3 emergencies that come by way of the county executive. They are clerk item number 293-15, a resolution to adopt a citizen participation plan required under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Act. 294-15, a resolution to implement the affirmative action plan as required under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. And 295-15, a resolution adopting the Section 504 Policies and Grievance Procedures under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program.
So moved.
Moved by legislator Dunn and second by legislator. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of establishing the The emergencies signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the emergencies are established. Okay, now for item 293.
The three items, emergency resolution, resolution 139B15, a resolution to adopt the citizens participation plan as required under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. Or emergency resolution 14, resolution 139C15, a resolution to implement the affirmative action plan as required under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. And emergency resolution 15, resolution 139B15, a resolution adopting the section 504 policy and grievance procedures under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by legislator Walker, second by legislator Cook. I think everybody who's supposed to be is here. Okay, let's go with the 293, resolution to adopt the citizens participation plan. Okay. You want to speak on all of them at the same time?
That'd be great if possible.
Okay, it's yours.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'd like to thank the minority leader as well and the staffs of both the Presiding Officer staff and the minority leader staff for working very quickly on this. These three grant resolution forms cover 8 projects by which the county is entering into. If those of you may remember, on October 21st, 20th or 21st in 2014, this body unanimously approved a sub-recipient agreement with the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery and Nassau County to cover various projects. We're now at a point, for sandy impacted areas where this is going to be covering 8 projects. The 3 items that are before you are requirements of GOSAR and requirements of that subrecipient agreement, whereas the county had, by a local resolution, had to create those 3 items as mentioned: a 504 policy and grievance procedure, a policy related to public outreach, and also an affirmative action plan. And why we're here today and why we asked quickly for this emergency is because the county is out to bid as we speak for one of the projects, which is the Barnes Avenue in Hempstead Force Main and Pump Station Construction Project. It's probably one of the most critical projects that is going to impact the Baldwin and specifically the Village of Hempstead with respect to any downtown revitalization. That project is out to bid, and tomorrow the county is actually holding the pre-bid walkthrough and also a mandatory pre-bid public hearing process that will take place here. Obviously, everyone's invited. The pre-bid walkthrough is taking place at Bay Park. And if you want any specifics related to that, we can get it to you. And again, then the conference will be tomorrow, where we invite all prospective contractors to come in and meet with people, because we are actively engaging in having an MWBE requirement and reaching the goal. So that's why we're here asking. So tomorrow, when this meeting takes place, we can actually provide all those prospective vendors with this information, and the bid opening is actually August 5th, the day after the legislature would have met on August 4th, and we did not want to push that bid any further. So I would like to thank again the council, both the majority officer and the minority leader, for doing this, for reading through this very quickly, and apologize for that. But again, the importance of this project, I think we all recognize what this would be for those areas involved.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Walker? Just let it go.
Quick question about the affirmative action plan.
Yes.
Who's going to be running that?
That'll be run by minority affairs. In this case, we have put the requirement on, because we had to name an affirmative action officer as Reverend Elliott. He will be the point person, but it'll also be assisted by the Office of Minority Affairs, the Department of Public Works, and I should say too, we are awaiting, and we've had conversations with many people the county executive had in this room, that we're waiting upon the recommendation of the Minority Affairs Council, the 3-person recommendation, so we can, the county executive can appoint a new executive director as well to that office. But they'll be running in conjunction with them, as well as the county executive will be forwarding to this legislature in a very short order, a recommendation on his behalf to, in fact, which has been mentioned in some of the news writings, a company, a firm that is going to be hired to deal directly with the department on each and every project that the county enters into to gain additional minority MWBE representation. Also, in terms of employment opportunities, outreach, and things of that nature, that hopefully will be in the next 30 to 45 days, you'll get that award as well. So they'll be working in conjunction with all of those and our project managers, who you're going to hear from Mike DiNicola possibly later if you have any technical questions on one of our biggest contracts with Bay Park, but he can detail a lot of the work that has begun in that process.
All right.
Oh, no, I defer to my colleague.
You changed your mind?
No, I defer to my colleague, Julia.
Other legislator?
Thank you.
Thank you. Rob, when would you expect that appointment to be?
As we're actually awaiting for the recommendation from the council, so we have not received that yet. The county executive had met with the chairperson of the council, I believe it was 2 weeks ago now, and I only know because I attended the meeting with him. So we're just awaiting that recommendation from them of 3 individuals, and the county executive then will select. So we're just awaiting that. I can't tell you when they're going to give it to us. Could be today, could be tomorrow. I don't know.
So you think it's pretty imminent, though?
We hope so. We said as soon as they make a recommendation, we'll be moving forward.
Would any major decisions be made prior to this appointment?
No, not at all. I think it's no. I say no. In terms of the progress moving forward with this job, with this work, we're going to move forward. I think it needs to be done as expeditiously as possible. It's just a critical project. The other 7 projects on this list have not even gone out to bid yet. So this is the only item that has gone out to bid was the Hempstead force main and pump station.
All right. So I guess we just want to have it on record that we really do hope and anticipate an appointment for that position prior to any of these decisions. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Any other comments from the legislative comment?
Because I represent most of Baldwin, I want to say I'm delighted about the Barnes Avenue project, and I know this is something I've been talking with DPW about for a long time, and I can't wait for this project to be done because it will relieve a lot of people.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comment? There being none, all... Ms. Meredith.
Okay, it's still afternoon. Anita Maraday, Wesley Street, Baldwin. I'm just a little concerned with regard to the fact that a bid is going out tomorrow and this body is just now deciding on an affirmative action plan at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. One, how is the outreach done? And with regard to the affirmative action, since we're clearly using federal as well as state funding, I didn't really hear anything with regard to outreach and inclusion of veteran as contractors and employees. So could that issue be addressed and how would that be implemented? Since the last time I was before this body, there were some concerns with regard to various compliance issues within the Minority and Women Business Office. And I'm still not sure as to what is the full regard to veteran contracting and outreach in Nassau County. So if someone could speak to that, that would be appreciated.
Just with respect to outreach, this is a public bid process. The public bid process remains, so the item will appear, which actually does as we speak today. It appears on the Nassau County bid site. It also appears on the Minority Affairs website. I think it's important, as you said, that we could add that to the Veterans website. I think that would be crucial. In terms of outreach, that's what the meeting is about tomorrow. The meeting, everyone's invited from all community groups. There's extensive outreach done in terms of going into actually laundromats, I have to say, going to store to hand out information related to this meeting. The last time we did this with the electrical distribution phase 3, again, which is on for the rules committee later, we actually had over 100 people actually participated, both vendors and also residents, and we'll continue to do that with respect to this contract. The goal of 30% is a goal we are going to be actively trying to hit the mark. Once we get into the utilization, it even is more incumbent upon us to go after a lot of those people, understanding that each job is very unique. and you want to make sure that you don't want to put a person on a job site, especially again, you're talking about electrical distribution. I would not go on that job site because I'll be electrocuted in about 2 minutes if I make it that long. So we want to make sure we also, get the right, have the right people handling that. And the firms understand that. The firm has to make those commitments. And, again, I think we've made great strides, which you said, I don't want to get into the other contracts. I think they can speak for that better than I can. But, we look forward to working with everyone, on it.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, for that update. I'm just still, for the record, as it pertains to active participation and outreach, I might want to share with all those that they might want to consider looking at the Dodd-Frank Act Section 342, which specifically outlines very detailed and comprehensive guideposts with regard to outreach for diverse workforce as well as supplier diversity, because we continue to move very rapidly. We're beyond the slippery slope, but we're moving very rapidly into some serious litigation with regard to the lack of inclusion, particularly as it pertains to service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses, where our own New York State has a problem in terms of the number of certified service-disabled veterans to do the various projects. And too often, we are contracting out of state because we're not recruiting and developing the small minority and or veteran-owned businesses in our own area. So we need to, again, look at opportunities to provide, to help, to grow, to mentor a number of these businesses that are small, minority, women, veteran-owned, and also create more actual job opportunities for those who live here on Long Island or are struggling to live here on Long Island. And I would just hope that we can look at not just putting together an emergency affirmative action plan, but something that we can have long-term, that's sustainable for the long run. I appreciate just, again, having that consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Walker, legislative report.
Just two quick things, just as a follow-up. Regarding to the meeting that you're having tomorrow, I know that you do an outreach so that anybody who may want to bid on these jobs participate. After tomorrow, like say there is a vendor or somebody who would be interested in this, and they say to somebody else that they went to this meeting and they have these projects coming down. It's not closed out tomorrow. Anybody after tomorrow can still, so that if there is a way, like if I tell my veterans agency in the city of Long Beach if this is happening, they can then inquire, if they know of veteran-owned businesses that may want to bid on this. Is it still possible for them to do it?
Yeah, so the bid doesn't close actually until August 5th, so that's good. One of the other things too is after even the bid is awarded, there's a lot of work that goes into reach all of the utilization requirements. So at that point, we're still going to work with the contractor and with the staff of both Minority Affairs, DPW, and again, the company that I mentioned before, who's going to be brought on that is really specialized in this field. We are now actively going to go into the community because there's a target by the number of new jobs created that we're going to go into the community and try to reach those goals, which I think we can. And I could let Brian Schneider and Mikey Nicola that are here to talk about, not that I want everyone to have to stick around and listen to rules, but talking about the work that has gone into that contract, was the first time that the county really has dug into a contract and said, this is what you have to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to go out and actually go find to meet the requirement of job growth. So we're going to do that, and we're going to continue to do that during that process. So it's not even necessarily, it could be one person that we find that lives in Long Beach or East Rockaway that meets these requirements. We're going to have to attempt to do that.
So when you go out to the small businesses, or you're going after this outreach, do you do by a flyer or an information sheet or something?
Yeah, they've been handing out posters, flyers, information sheet. That's what they'll continue to do.
Can I get a copy of that flyer and then I can download it and I can e-team it out?
You don't have one with you, right?
I don't, but I'll forward to it.
Yeah.
Can you, because then I could e-team it out and then I could even give it to some of my veteran.
We'll send it to all the legislators and then you have it.
Okay.
This is a critical goal that the state has set, so we want to, I said we've been doing more due diligence than probably has been done before, which obviously is more good than bad, but it's a new environment for everyone.
And my last thing would be that, considering that the scope of these projects, and a lot of them are, of course, county-owned properties, will this work fall under the apprenticeship language that we passed? So then that would cut down on the number of out-of-state people that could possibly live on these
Some
roads.
probably will have a PLA. And again, the good thing about it is with the goal setting and job creation, it has to be local. So there is those requirements, and I think we're going to make every effort to reach it, if not exceed what we need to do.
All right, thank you very much.
There being no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The items passed unanimously. Okay? I believe that's the end of it. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn, but listen, there are a few people here who've been waiting to voice their comments, and we're going to do that before we do the Rules Committee. So everybody will have to sit tight until we do the Rules Committee. And so, motion to adjourn. Moved by Legislator Dunn, seconded by Legislator Nicolao. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay. The meeting is adjourned, but not public participation. Sandra, say the last name. I'm sorry, Sandra.
That's okay, Doc Angelo.
I should have been able to say that.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sandra.
I'm with the Northside Civic, and it's been excellent news for Nassau County that New York City has backed off from its threat to open its Queens Wells, but that doesn't end our worries about our water. The Water Resources Board newly enacted charter requires it examine aquifer management practices both from beyond and within the county's borders. The board must reconvene and expedite the recommendations its charter now mandates. It's imperative that these recommendations include the following. The county must proactively manage and vigilantly protect its drinking water supply, continuing to monitor the Queens threat, expediting the proposed Western Long Island U.S. Geological Survey study, fending off pressures to have aquifer pumped water transported beyond the county water district border. The county must protect the aquifer system as a limited and vulnerable resource. This includes impelling best practices, proper planning and prudent conservation methods, in particular the relevant methods disclosed in the EPA Water Savers program, Water Sense program, Developing and implementing a comprehensive groundwater management plan, anticipating, assessing, and mitigating the short and long-term effects of human activity, demographics, climate change, and quantity-related issues such as demand, pumping and usage, drawdown contamination, drought conditions, sea level rise, saltwater intrusion, groundwater levels pertaining to inland surface waters. The county must implement policies to halt over pumping of the aquifer system, a big problem. This includes adopting the managed yield approach, monitoring water withdrawals within and throughout the county, insisting the county's current safe yield limit of 185 million gallons a day is strictly enforced, establishing and routinely updating a countywide water budget and related district water budgets as well, requiring all water budgets and related safe, sustainable, and managed yield limits are strictly enforced. And I'm sure the legislator appreciates the full significance of protecting our drinking water, groundwater. Having the Water Resources Board reconvene and recommend the county expedite the aforementioned requisites will certainly serve to stave off all future crises. I, myself, or others would be pleased to meet with those serving on the legislative committees, planning, development, and environmental committees to pursue these recommendations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being so patient. Gerald Adamino?
Gerald Adina from Point Lookout. I'm in complete agreement with the Water Resources Board suggestions just proposed by Sandra, and I wish to compliment them by proposing the board consider additional recommendations as follows. The county must implement policies to reduce and remediate contamination. This includes anticipating, assessing, and mitigating the short and long-term effects of human activity on groundwater quality, in particular pollution trends attributable to nitrogen, pesticides and other toxins, pathogens, pharmaceuticals, volatile organic compounds, household and personal care products, radionuclides, and other carcinogens, and promoting comprehensive cleanup and restoration of Superfund and other contaminated sites, including toxin plumes. The county must also issue regular reports on the status of its drinking water resources. This includes expediting publication of the Water Resources Board report to the county executive that was due February 1st. That hasn't been published to date. Recontinuing the Department of Health's annual publication of Nassau County's groundwater and public supply facts, and maintaining and making available all its respective associated and related databases. The county must work and interface with professional and scientific groups, disclose their findings, and implement their recommendations. This includes adopting the recommendations of independent, professional, and scientific studies, promoting coordination, cooperation, and a sense of comity with water companies, suppliers, utilities, and districts, the United States Geological Survey, environmental organizations, and others endeavoring to remediate existing groundwater problems and prevent future drinking water crises. It also includes crafting short and long-term conservation measures and policies to reduce potable waste, and finally educating the public about aquifer and potable water conservation essentials. And as Sandra stated previously, I'm sure the legislature appreciates the full significance of protecting our drinking water, and having the Water Resources Board reconvene and recommend the county expedite the aforementioned requisites will certainly serve to stave off future crises. I and others would be pleased to meet with those serving on the ledge, in particular the Planning, Development, and Environmental Committee, to pursue these recommendations in greater detail. Thank you for your time and efforts.
Thank you, Ms. Adler. Thank you for your patience. Okay, Joanne Gordon.
Good evening. I'm here again to request that you define gender in our human rights law. I will not repeat all the evidence that medical science says transgenderism is a birth variation akin to people with red hair or left-handedness. I'll not repeat the hard evidence that our Nassau law does not explicitly protect transgender people. I will not repeat that we do not have the same protection transgender people have in all the counties and states that surround us. I'll not repeat that over 50%, roughly 160 million people live in the United States with transgender rights laws, and nothing bad has ever been reported. Your inaction to outlaw harm to us may seem to render you innocent, but you are not an innocent bystander. By allowing harm, the threat of harm, or even the fear of harm, you are perpetuating ungodly hate. Your inaction is an action. It's as though you leave a loaded gun accessible to a murderer. It's the same as driving at high speeds toward your destination without regard to preventing bad consequences. Your inaction is in fact an action, an inhumane and sinful action. You may not want to think of it as such. you may rationalize that the harm and fear of harm we experience is not your fault. You may feel their safety in numbers, but you know your inaction is participation in hate, yours or that of others, and it's your personal responsibility. It is you, individually, who are allowing harm to people. Harm you can discourage and even prevent. Thus, you are guilty. Guilty of perpetrating harm on people, your constituents. Guilty of a sin against God and the Decalogue He commands you to obey. It's not too late. Roll away the guilt of inaction. I say to each of you, shake the anti-human guilt from yourselves and demand the honest and right thing. As Reagan said, fulfill the prime duty and responsibility of your office to protect people, not run their lives. Include a definition of gender in our law by demanding passage of the gender clarification law. Thank you for listening.
Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Jimmy. Legislator Salat.
Thank you. Joanne, I just want to thank you again for being here today. Please, your comments are not falling upon deaf ears. I really care about, the issue that you're advancing. This is about basic justice and basic equality for all. You have shown, and just paying attention to the news has shown that by protecting all persons, the floor won't fall out. We won't have decay or destruction of our society and our morals. And so I thank you for continuing this fight. And again, if there's other opportunities for me to join and to help advance this cause, please let me know. Thank you.
Yes, a couple of months ago, we heard a transgender woman tell about her 20 years of experience on the job, being commended and promoted, and then someone saw her as an activist on television for transgenderism, and she was finally fired after 20 years of good service, not just ordinary service. And you don't react. You don't even have any comments. All you say is, there's no dispute, there's no question, we're already covered. No one questions except the county attorney, and every organization that has attorneys and studies this law says that we do not have coverage in this law, and you sit there and say there's no dispute. The silence is deafening.
Joanne. But take solace in something. Judy.
Over there.
Judy.
Oh.
Your strength, your dedication, and your commitment to seeing this through someday, and I believe it will happen, managed to get it through because it started with you here, because the supervisor of the town of North Hempstead began her political career here. And it was on her mind from the minute that she left here how ridiculous this was, that you had to be here every 2 weeks, or chose to be here every 2 weeks, to try to convince us. And you always should point, whenever you get up to speak somewhere, that North Hempstead is still standing. And they took great pride in the fact that in a unanimous, bipartisan way, they did pass this law, this gender, not even a law, they passed this gender amendment to their original law to make it fall into place that everybody is protected. Don't ever forget that that's a plus. That's a victory for your perseverance. And I'm not just saying it to make you feel good, because I know you're very frustrated and I don't blame you, but it is something to point to, and there's no question in my mind that you're going to see a repetition of that, if not here right away, you're going to see it elsewhere throughout the community, the county, and that's what will get it to happen. Sad, it's in Suffolk, it's in the city, it's in Westchester, But unfortunately, what is. But don't ever underestimate what you've already accomplished. Okay?
It's interesting that the silence is deafening when I speak as far as the Republican side is concerned. I spoke to Long Beach City Council, and when I finished, they said, "Thank you for calling that omission to our attention. The city attorney will have it. They'll pass it on to the city attorney." I don't understand. I don't understand that people don't realize what they're doing by not doing something. Something very simple.
Debbie Wilson? So Debbie Wilson?
Someone else.
Hi, I live in the Incorporated Village in Freeport. I was out to lunch on Valentine's Day, taking my 86-year-old mother for lunch. My home was burglarized. I came home. 2 doors had been broken into. They beat my dog with a 2x4 and the handle to one of my garden tools. They found my safe and stole an enormous amount of property. The dog had to be euthanized. I never recovered any of my property. Now I've been notified that if I want to put an alarm system in my home, I not only have to pay a fee for the mere privilege of trying to protect my home and my property to the Incorporated Village of Freeport, but I have to pay a fee for the mere privilege of installing an alarm system to Nassau County. Nassau County Police Department does not respond to our burglary calls. The Freeport Police Department responds to all of our burglary calls. I don't understand how you can charge somebody like me a fee and not provide a service for it. Could somebody up there please explain to me how you could charge me a fee and not provide a service for it? You don't respond to our burglary calls. The Freeport Police Department does, and we already pay a fee to them, to the village of Freeport. Anybody?
I don't want to. Debbie, I believe the Detective Division of Nassau County that does respond to those calls.
No, you do not answer the burglary alarms. We already pay for services rendered to the county for any kind of detective services or what have you through our county taxes. We pay for those services. This is a separate fee for the mere privilege of having an alarm system in your home.
Let me say this to you. We will look into it, and if that's the case, then we will rectify it. Okay, we will take your concern to Nassau County Police Department and verify the fact that you're being
because there are approximately, if I'm correct, 69 incorporated villages in Nassau County, most of which have their own police departments.
Most of them don't.
Okay.
All right, but we will.
I know that Lynbrook does, Rockville Center does, Freeport, we have our own, Hampstead has their own.
Not on the North Shore, right?
There's some that have it on the North Shore, but not all.
There are a lot of communities that have their own police department who are being charged a fee for their burglar alarms, and then they're being charged again. And Nassau County Police do not respond to any burglary calls in the village of Freeport. They do not answer the burglar alarms. And that's what the fee is for. We already pay for other services rendered to the county police department through our property taxes, through our county tax.
I said we'll look into it and we'll get back to you.
Who will get back to me? Because I see that my representatives from my village are not even here.
I don't know what to go to.
Freeport. Ron's not here.
No, the minority leader had to leave. He had an emergency.
Ron's not here. Laura's not here.
I have the information All right, Michelle Darcy will get it to Mr. Abrams, okay? And he will, and Steve Rhodes is also here. So it's not falling on deaf ears. Try to get to who else is besides Steve Rhodes and Toronto? All right, we have the information, they'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have Shelley, oh God, Shelley, I believe Rose Fazio. Oh no, that's not. Case Fazio, is that person here?
I think she left.
Shelley, she left? Okay. Michelle. And then public participation, and those who did wait, thank you for your patience, and so is the question. Okay. All right, now, we're going to take a breather, but I'm not really going to take too much of a breather because we have rules committee to go through a number of items, and hopefully, and I know there are people here who've been sitting for a long time as well for these items, and it's a number of contracts, and I believe we need to take the roll, Mr. Muller.
Sure. Executive Wolf, sure. Legislator Salage? Here. Legislator Jacobs?
Here.
Legislator Richard Whitney, substituting for Ranking Member Abrahams? Here. Legislator Capel? Legislator Dunn? Here. Vice Chairman Nicolello? Here. Chairwoman Gonzalez?
Present.
We have one.
Okay, we have our first contract, which is 810, a resolution authorizing the Director of Nassau County Office of Purchasing to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of Nassau County Fire Commission and Rover Corporation. Moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Nicolello. And I'm sorry, it kept you so long. This is the chief priest. All right, tell us about this item.
Thank you, legislators. John Priest, Nassau County Fire Marshal's Office. The item in front of you is for the purchase of a very sophisticated robotic tool used in the response to hazardous materials situations, used primarily in the early stages of the response, which is the most dangerous time when we are trying to identify the material. And instead of having to put human beings in the chemical defensive suits, we can use the robot to go in, do reconnaissance, and use the meters that are built in to identify the material so that we can properly then allow members to more safely enter and mitigate the situation.
Any questions of Assistant Chief?
Yes.
Legislator Dunn.
Is this similar to the bomb squad, having a robot go in and check out the bombs?
They are, I believe, made by the same company. They are similar, but they have different tools upon them to do different jobs.
And you have them washing down after?
They are completely able to be decontaminated and used again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Legislator Jacobs.
Just one quick question. You found out they're a sole source contractor, or you know that from prior experience with dealing with them?
We found out they were a sole source, purchasing investigated, and it recommends them be accepted as the sole source provider.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of A10 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. The next item is item A32, a resolution authorizing the Director of Nassau County Office of Purchases to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Police Department Aviation Unit, and Bell Helicopter Textron, Inc. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Nicolao. Okay, Sergeant.
Good evening, Sergeant Greg Stefanoff from Nassau County Police. This item is to award a purchase order for 2 helicopters for the Nassau County Police Department Aviation Unit. This will replace 2 older helicopters that will fall out of compliance with the FAA safety regulations. Back in 2009, the NTSB set some safety guidelines in response to significant helicopter crashes that occurred between 2002 and 2008. In 2010, the FAA took these guidelines along with other considerations and are going to set safety standards for all commercial helicopters that operate, and including helicopters that are ambulatory as well. In response to this, we put out an RFP for 2 helicopters and we received 3 bids. We chose the lowest responsible bidder, was Bell Helicopter, which will meet and exceed the FAA safety guidelines. Also, the Bell Helicopters will be equipped with technology that we're incorporating a grant into this that will have technology for mapping, infrared, also live video feed to the ground, so we can take care of incidents. We can also take care of an incident such as Sandy. This helicopter will incorporate what's called a fast rope solution, where we had the 2 BSO cops that were honored. We could deploy BSO and emergency service police to an area where we can't land, so they could rope down. These new helicopters will have lower maintenance. For instance, the rotors have a lifetime, they're guaranteed for life, whereas now we replace them. So there'll be a lower maintenance for the rotors plus other components. We're also going to have, these helicopters will maintain aided capabilities where we work with the police, villages, and also I think we work with over 100 different fire departments. So we'll be able to continue working with them and maintain aided transports as well. The helicopters, the bids came in, the helicopters are $8,200,000 each for a total of $16.4 million for 2 helicopters.
Legislator Dunn.
Yeah, just real quick, when we do purchases, I assume we're going to pass it because it is going into the future. I'd like to just at least see this, the new bells and whistles, the access autopilot, and the fast rope insertion, the tactical seating. I'd really love to see this on a new helicopter. It's going to look like. Will we be able to come and see them?
I'll mention it to Chief Counterman. He apologizes he can't be here. He wanted to be here to present this himself. But I'll mention it to him to set something up for all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I also joined in the application as a legislator Dunn. I would like to see this. Does this helicopter use the same technology that was used after the Boston terrorist attack, where they were hiding out in the boat and the helicopter had an infrared, camera, and was able to find the terrorists? Does it have the same technology?
Yes.
That's great. And currently we don't have that.
No. We're buying the same helicopters that New York City has. New York City, I believe, bought 6 of them, and it's equipped with this technology as well.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
Legislator Nicolao.
Just a couple of quick questions. You may have covered this actually, but what is the age of the helicopters we have now?
We're replacing one we bought in 1997 and one that we purchased in 2006.
And what do you expect the useful life of these 2 new helicopters to be?
The useful life, the helicopters, the frame is good for an extremely long time. It's the components that have to be changed. So you can't go, quite a bit with a helicopter. You just have to keep repairing it and replacing parts per FAA guidelines. The new helicopters that we're buying, a lot of the components are maintenance free. So that last much, much longer than the current ones we have. So it will cut down maintenance quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any public comment? Somebody said so, okay, Legislator George.
I know you already said this, but just one more time, because this is not the lowest bid, it was accepted because the lowest bid did not, in your opinion, the opinion of the department, did not come up to the standard that we needed.
Yeah, the lowest bid in the packet is a letter from Chief Canavan stating the points that the lowest bid didn't conform to. They failed to meet 4-access autopilot, which the flight crew uses to manage the aircraft and its systems during demanding workload situations. It fails to provide fast rope solutions that we can deploy people to the ground without landing if we need to. It also there's also, in the event of a twin rotor fail, the Bell helicopter, when we send pilots to train at the manufacturer periodically, and Bell helicopter, if there's a twin rotor fail, they practice, during the training, they actually practice with that. The lowest bidder will not set up a simulation where we can practice that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of contract A32 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Next contract is A33, and Sergeant, I guess you're on for this one.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Director of Nassau County Office of Purchasing to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Police Department and Versing LLC. Moved by Legislator Dunn, seconded by Legislator Nicola. Okay.
This item is it also in conjunction with the next item. This item is for...
Talk about both of them then, go ahead.
Okay, this item and A33. A33 is fencing that's going to be installed around Marine Bureau for target hardening, and it's going to be paid by our port security grant with a 25% match for the county. So they're going to pay for 75% of the fencing, and it's going to be an anti-climb fence to secure that facility. And A32 is going to be surveillance.
Not A34. Which one? We have 33.
I'm sorry, that's A34.
Okay.
I apologize. And A33 is the surveillance equipment that will be installed on the fencing so that it could be monitored without personnel at the scene. It can be monitored 24/7 through surveillance equipment.
Okay.
And that's also going to be paid for by the port security grant with a 25% match.
Okay. Okay. On item A33, any questions from the legislators' comments? Any public comment? On item A34, which I did not read into the record, I will now, a resolution authorizing the Director of Nassau County Office of Purchasing to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau and the Police Department and Residential Offenses Court. I need a motion on that. Moved by Legislator Dunn, second by Legislator Capel. And since we already heard from the Sergeant on both items, any questions on A34? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of A33 and A34 signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, any opposed? The items pass unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant. All right, the next item is B24, a resolution authorizing the county executive to award and execute a contract between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the Nassau County Department of Public Works, a BSRJ, A/T/B. Motion moved by Legislator Dunn, seconded by Legislator Capel. Okay, who's here to speak on this one? I'm seeing Mr. Schneider.
Yes, good afternoon, Brian Schneider from Public Works. This item being considered this afternoon, B24-2015, is a construction contract for the electrical system distribution improvements at the Date Park Sewage Treatment Plant, also known as Phase E3. As you all know, much of the electrical distribution equipment at Bay Park was either completely or partially submerged with a mixture of sewage and salt water during the storm surge caused by Superstorm Sandy. Switchgear, transformers, substations, miles of duct bank, and distribution cables located throughout the facility were damaged and all needed replacement as well as mitigation against future storms. This work will be performed in 3 phases with a separately bid and awarded contract for each phase. And as you know, you have already approved Phase E1 and E2. Phase E1 was awarded to a tri-venture, which is the same tri-venture as is being considered today. It's BSRJ for $28.6 million, which included 4 unit substation replacements. The notice to proceed was issued May 27th of 2014, is currently ongoing, is on schedule, and it will be completed by September 20th of 2016. Phase E2 was awarded to John P. Picone and Sons for $18.8 million, which included 1 unit substation replacement. The notice to proceed for that project was issued on May 11th of this year, 2015, will be completed by February 28th of 2017, and is currently underway and on schedule. So the contract before you today is Phase E3, is also with the tri-venture BSRJ, which is for $97.5 million and has a 36-month construction schedule. The significant work to be performed includes, unfortunately I have to bore you with this, but it's important, new electrical wing, new unit substation number 1, the main switchgear replacement of 2,400 volts, emergency diesel generators, diesel storage and diesel transfer systems, plumbing and HVAC systems, electrical duct banks for power, communications, and lighting, approximately 5 miles of duct bank. All satellite substations, which are currently being rebuilt as part of Phase E1 and E2, will tie into the new switchgear being installed under this phase. Also, utility switchgear, new transformers, distribution, and service entrance breakers. As part of this phase, we will reactivate the PSE&G utility feeder. There'll be space for future utility feeders, new battery rooms, battery distribution rooms, load banks, emergency switchgear, prime generator transformers, and electrical distribution system control room. Now, during the bid period, which lasted for 4 weeks, was extended 2 separate times, so there's a total of a 7-week bid period. It included a walkthrough through the Bay Park plant with approximately 10 contractors. It was followed up by a pre-bid conference that the Deputy County Exec spoke of before. It was attended by 100 representatives of various construction companies and firms. It was also followed up with a presentation on the NBE WBE requirements by Dr. Phil Elliott. 4 bids were then received on April 21st. The Hazen and Sawyer Arcadis joint venture, who's been running our design and construction at the Bay Park plant, analyzed all the bids and all the corresponding documents provided, and conducted the appropriate research of the apparent low bidder for the contract, which is BSRJ TV. This tri-venture includes Banna Electric Corporation, is the B of BSRJ, Peter Scalamandria and Sons, that's the S, and RJ Industries. It's also the contractor working on the current Phase 1 project, which I mentioned before. So the engineer's estimate for this project was $137,257,900, and the low bid submitted by BS